I'm a true believer of working with your employees and making sure that they are successful, that the organization is successful, and that will translate into customer being happy.
A quick interruption to remind you to like, subscribe, and rate this podcast so we can get your feedback and know how to make it better. Hey, it's Ari Santiago, President, CEO of IT Direct. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Made in America podcast. We have Rina Patel, Vice President of Operations at RSCC Cable and Wire. Very, very excited to have Rina on. Another in our long line of tremendous women in manufacturing in Connecticut. Rina, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you very much for the introduction. It's very kind of you to invite me.
Well, Rina, listen, it's the Made in America podcast. So the same two questions we always start off with. What do you make and why do you make it?
Oh, that is a terrific question. We make wire and cable. It's as simple as that. No, in all seriousness though, we make wire and cable that are for power cables, control cables, instrumentation cables, if you will. There is a wide variety of them. We make them for harsh environment. I would say for over a century, RSCC has been supporting very demanding applications for harsh environments and making cabling systems, if you will. Based on the applications, we are in so many different markets. Amazing. Industrial and mining. Think of transit and rolling stock, fire safety, oil and gas, nuclear. So you can imagine the plethora or the vastness or the expansive marketing applications that we have.
So these are markets. These are the cables or the wires that go from like the control station that would be at a nuclear
controls,
plant, like into
instrumentation. That's right, power cables. So you name it. For rolling stocks, for example. Element metro. So you think of metro or the cars, if you will. That's the only example I can think of.
Like
subway,
goes on the subway,
right? That's
the power
what I was
line.
looking for.
Gotcha.
Right, exactly. So, yeah.
So, I mean, I know you're only a year at this particular company. We're going to get to your background.
All right.
But do you know the RSCC history? You said for almost 100 years. Do you know anything about how RSCC got started? Or
a little bit.
Okay.
Literally, it started out as rock bestis and Sopranet cable. Both of them. One was in New Haven, I believe, or West Haven. They merged, and then RSCC was born. Overall, I think there was a merger or collaboration that was absolutely needed and viewed as what the customer needed, staging for more marketing opportunities and product demands.
And you guys are in Granby, East Granby?
We are located in East Granby. That is correct.
Okay. Is that the only Connecticut facility?
That is the only Connecticut facility. Yes.
So let's talk about your background a little bit,
Sure.
Rina. So you've been at RSCC for a year, so we'll get back to that.
All right.
But how did you get into manufacturing?
Wow, that's a terrific question. So before I answer that, maybe I will answer what we were talking about prior to this. I think it is important to understand where you came from to really understand someone's background in depth, if you will. So I was born and raised in India. I was born in a family of farmers. They were farmers for generations, literally, both sides of family, mother and father. They were also part of the freedom fighters. The town I was born in was pretty much a hub for Gandhi's events that were happening at the time to the freedom.
Right. To liberate India from the colonial rule from Britain.
Yeah. That is correct.
Which most Americans can think about, right? Because we at one time had to do our own fighting to liberate from the British rule.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, early on, the hard work, the courage, the resiliency, those were some things that I can attribute to that I gained being part of, that kind of family background, if you will. But it's that sentiment remains with you. Those learnings remain with you. I came here when I was in 11th grade, finished my high school, went to college, finished my bachelor's, gained bachelor's of engineering degree in chemical engineering. And, my first couple of roles were in R&D. And so why manufacturing? Well, I recognized that while I liked R&D and, coming up with new products and all that. By the way, one of my first jobs was working and making Sensodyne toothpaste, believe it or not. And yes, it did work. Well, I can't say that anymore because I don't know it. I do believe that they would have remained the quality. But after that, I recognized that I really loved making things. I'm a builder. I like to see the things being transferred from one form into the other form. And so that kind of passion, no matter where I went, it came through in manufacturing. I held a variety of different roles from different functions. You have
a very impressive background, but let me actually pull on that a little bit. So let's just start with this. So a 15-year-old girl wakes up one day in Gujarat, India, and then she takes a plane and she lands in New York City, doesn't speak the language that well.
That's right.
Doesn't know anyone but her family.
That's right.
What's that like?
Exciting, nervous, I don't know. It was sad for leaving all the friends, especially at that age. But excited for learning a new culture, looking for opportunities where I would be able to get the education. And those were the things that my parents brought us here for. So,
did your parents say that to you? Like, do you remember the conversation your parents had talking to you about, hey, Rina, guess what? We're moving. Where? America.
That's right. Yeah. That was the conversation. There was no ask, really.
No, of course.
But we of course knew that they are trying to do the best for the family. So that's how the Indian families, at least the family that I grew up in, it was not if or but,
Here we go.
We were involved, but not necessarily to that level of decision making at that point.
And I mean, you're the oldest of four, right? I think two sisters and a brother.
Two sisters and a brother.
Solidarity, as I mentioned earlier. I'm also the oldest of four.
Yes.
So, do you think that your siblings looked up to you to show the way when they came over here to find a way in a new country? Did you feel that pressure?
I'm not sure about pressure, but they did look up to me, and it's kind of taught in a way, or it comes within the family upbringing in the sense that you're the older one, so you bear the responsibility. Sure. That's right. You never questioned it, but it was nice because I could always count on my siblings to do things together and to help support each other, and to this day.
Well, your parents got to be super proud of you. I mean, you've been to Northwestern, you went to Stevens Institute for Technology, then you got a master's from Columbia. I mean, you are no academic slouch. That is for sure, and they must be super proud of you.
Well, I can only tell you that the credit goes to them, and especially my mom. I can tell you my mom was very smart, and I have heard from so many people when I was in India, her teachers, in fact, even, but she was not afforded that opportunity to complete her college education. So part of my internal motivation comes from, hey, my mom did everything possible to give me that opportunity. They even moved, everything here for us. And, I had to cheers to mom. Really.
Yeah. Well, good. Nothing beats a good mom.
No. She always believed, the can-do attitude, and I see that in myself. Where there is a will, there is a way. I mean, I can go on and on and on. So
no, that's good stuff. Really. Listen, you're kind of moving into your work history a little bit. Sure. You've got a work history resume, that reads like the who's who of amazing American companies, right?
Oh, please.
GE, Reflexite, Dyno Mobile, Stanley Black & Decker, RSCC. Talk a little bit about your work journey. I mean, you started off at GE. That's obviously globally tremendously well-known name. Talk about your kind of your journey through all these different companies and how that worked for you.
Okay, wow. As I mentioned, I started out with a couple of R&D roles. Then I took on more of a process engineering roles, and process engineering roles really made me learn and apply some of the educational background. But what I realized was that what I had most fun with was working with people. And so I was supposed to train, and I was supposed to do all these different things. And I started, I would ask people, hey, so why do we do this? Tell me how, because I don't know what you do. So tell me how you do. But, we made a deal that I would explain to them why, because that side of it I could. So always build partnership, throughout. Went through different companies, GE. I was my first role as a total cost out leader. I didn't know anything about costing or finance, and they gave me opportunity. They said, Rina, you've done all this. We are sure that you can catch this, up pretty quickly. And let alone, within 3 months, I also got volunteered to lead the GE's energy total cost out program. So, the empowerment at GE was absolutely fantastic. On the same token, I can tell you that when I worked for GE, I knew each and every penny.
Really? What's a total,
almost to
what's
that
a total
level.
cost out? Like, explain that to the audience.
Sorry. Basically, what you do is look for opportunities for organic growth. From an energy standpoint, I focused quite a bit more on renewable energy. Worked with, at the time, Brian Gladden was the vice president of GE Plastics. And I was able to get him on board, and the planted the seeds for the green initiative that GE started. So yeah, there were a lot of benefits because some of these things I never thought about, but by being a bit more, I don't know if it's adventurous or just going into it, it really helped me learn a lot more.
Just saying
so
yes
you
to
can say,
just saying yes to opportunities. You're saying,
oh, absolutely.
Opportunities come your way. Your
Just
default answer is yes. I'll do it.
never say no. There is no in my vocabulary, if you will. So absolutely. But that's one of the reasons why I have gone through different companies and learned. They're all part of different industries. So GE Plastics, more of chemicals, plastics, if you will. Dyno Nobel, explosives industry.
Yeah,
okay?
I was going to say.
Right?
But also chemical, there's some chemical engineering, right? That's going into, no?
Oh, well, remember that the application of the principles are always applied in different ways, right? So you don't go to school for just one thing. Whatever you learn, you kind of apply to so many different things. And that's kind of what I learned. The most important thing, and I won't go through all of the companies because it doesn't make a difference. For Stanley Black & Decker, I will mention is that a big deal on IoT. Big on Revolution 4, and I partner with the manufacturing at Hartford to get our plant on that. I created a vision and roadmap for Danbury plant to get there. So just the diversity of experiences I learned from a technical standpoint and what was out there. However, the most important thing was the different cultures. What really prepared me was that at the end of the day, without your employees, the company is nothing. You can't go to the next level, right? So sometimes we think about, okay, well, customers first, but without your happy employees, you cannot get to the customers. And, I'm a true believer of working with your employees and making sure that they are successful, that the organization is successful, and that will translate into customer being happy. And it's kind of a loop,
right?
So the customers are happy; they're going to give you more, business. Then you start growing your your organization grows. You hire more employees. Guess what? The communities flourish.
So how do you think, let me ask you a question about that, because you just touched on something I think it's really interesting. So let's just take the Stanley Black & Decker, because I do want to actually get back to the I4.0, but what do they make in Danbury? What's the product that comes out of Danbury?
Engineered
like engineered components. So but the customer who uses it isn't really talking to the plant, right? Like the end customer. How do you connect kind of what you're doing in a manufacturing facility? And so many of our Connecticut manufacturers have this, right?
Yeah.
I maybe make a part that goes into a medical device or goes into a jet engine or goes into a tape measure or an engineered product. There's probably a few more steps before the person who's actually going to use that item gets
Absolutely.
it. How do you connect the people on the floor in the plant with the end customer and what they're doing?
So in this case, I'll take a different example.
Sure.
I'll take a current example of RSCC.
Okay.
So RSCC, we're huge in getting the voice of the customers.
Okay.
We partner with our customers. We understand the marketing needs. We understand the specification needs. We understand what their new application requirements are and all that. And build that partnership and work with them to develop the R&D requirements for that. And then we put it out in manufacturing, validate it and all that. So that's a full chain of events that happen before any new product comes out. For example, I can say some of the things that we are currently working on include fire safety, the electric vehicle charging. Okay, so a gamut of new applications that you're always looking into.
Do you tell the people that are making it each component what it goes into?
Communication meetings with our teams on a monthly basis, and we communicate. We teach everyone as to where our products are going, especially when there is a new product that comes out. It makes perfect sense for the team to learn as to who it's going to, what kind of application we're looking at. In fact, we had held some of the appreciative inquiry kind of question focus groups with our teams. And one of the things that they had mentioned, what they liked about working at RSCC, one of the things was we love to make wire. We love to make, and we love to see it go on moon and other places, which has happened in past. And so, it's a thrilling experience that they see that, hey, what I'm making is actually going to be used somewhere.
Which is one of you talked about that earlier, that the transforming something to something else and seeing it get used. I mean, it is, in my view, one of the coolest things in manufacturing is like everything that we use every day, from this clipboard to the microphone to the coffee cup, got made somewhere. Right. And it didn't grow looking like this.
Thank you.
Someone had to apply a process to it, or many processes to it.
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool. I want to take a step back and then go forward again. So you had talked about the value of people, and that a business without its people being happy, you didn't say engaged, but I'm going to say engaged.
It is, yes, absolutely.
So talk about strategies you think about when you're thinking about how to get people and keep them engaged, because an engaged, happy employee is a productive employee, and that virtuous circle that you talked about. So what are some of the techniques you've used that have been successful?
Wow. That is an excellent question. The first thing that I have seen happen is just being out there, being available, people being able to talk to you openly, creating that open door policy, creating that collaborative environment. Respect goes a very long way. Now, engagement, I would say there is engagement of all different sorts. My approach, I should say, really, my approach has been just really listening to the voice of employee in that case. Really understanding, and I mentioned about appreciative inquiry, that was part of it, to understand in a positive fashion, what are our strengths and what are our needs of our employees, if you will. But bringing that up in a positive way, not a criticize way, in the sense that, what are the opportunities, and you kind of go in a different tone, if you will. Engaging when the team sees that you're passionate, when the team sees that you care about their safety, it becomes easy. But I will also tell you that this is the hardest part for me. People tell me that I have terrific ability to engage the team and energize the team, but it's like the Toyota Kata book. You have to see me in action to be able to really spot. It's probably the way I lead that I'm not able to, explain it 1, 2, 3, 4. There is no one formula per se, because there are different people and there are different, and that's what I bring to the table by going through all different cultures that I've been to. It comes naturally after a while.
Like the listen.
I
hear a theme of like listening.
Listen, follow through on things that they need.
Follow throughs.
Is
but listening without
important.
follow through actually might be worse than not listening at all, because then you feel double ignored. How do you? But is that? I mean, on a one-on-one basis, I get it, right? I mean, listen, we talked. We don't really know each other that well. We talked briefly before the episode. You're extremely engaging, very easy to talk to. Your eyes are so welcoming. Like I can see where people would be, drawn to your leadership. But how do you, that's on a one-to-one basis, but you're working for large factories where for you to do one-to-one engagement on a day-to-day basis just doesn't seem practical, or maybe it is, and I don't know. How do you replicate, how do you scale, that's a good business word, scale. How do you scale that engagement and scale that your personality?
It gets realized in some many different aspects. So first is doing the gambas. So I understand I can't see 180 people on a daily basis. You're right on. However, they see me on a certain frequency. And when there is that engaging discussion, there is a follow through on if there are opportunities, and or that I ask them, hey, there is an opportunity, but you're the expert. How can you help me? I need your help. Right? So just literally engaging them. We have started safety committees and all that. So there is an engagement for those team members through those where they take the actions, they walk away with things, they identify. It's not that someone else identifies. They identify things and they walk away with actions and they came up with the solutions, right? So now they're engaging the workforce, right? So it's all in having the right team to work with you. Is the best I can.
No, that was terrific. So let me ask you a question on that. So someone has an idea, and you had said that the word no is not in your vocabulary. So when someone has an idea, do you try to actively find a way to say yes, to let them try their idea? Do you vet every idea in committee? How do you execute?
I allow for both. Depends. Okay. And the reason I say is because if you already know something, then I'm very upfront with them that, hey, this has not worked in the past from my experience. However, I'm not going to stop you. What do you need to make that happen? How can we trial it out? If they fail, many of the times I don't come out and say it. I want them to experience it, if you will. Because they might invent something completely new just because, so how do we make our team more empowering and innovative is giving them opportunity to, trial it. When they fail, lift them up and, help them support whatever the needs are. And that's
how we grow.
How we grow. That's how I grew, right? I was given that opportunity. So how can I take away that opportunity from the team? That would be,
treat other people
detrimental to our team. Yeah.
Treat other people the way we want to be treated, right? It comes down to some serious basic stuff. Absolutely. Is this something that you think you learned in your career, in your school, at home, in your family? All of the above?
All of the above, I would say. Yeah. So from Indian families upbringing, my family upbringing, I should really say, because there are so many different, so I cannot generalize it. But in my family, respect was a big deal. So just being respectful, but also openness. I can imagine my father just pretty open to different ideas and all that. I mean, after all, they came here, right? And he was a big into community, serving community when I was in India. So I grew up from that perspective, So some of those kind of things stayed, but that was to help people, right? So some of those kind of things kind of remains with you, that how can you help your employees? How can you help your team members be more successful? And, literally, so I would say it's all of the above. And when you go through different companies, you understand different cultures. There are times where I go to a place and they would tell me that, person in your role, Rina, they never came to see me. I worked here for 25 years or 27 years, and they never came down. So the gambas are extremely important. That face-to-face, even if it doesn't happen daily, the time that you invest makes a huge difference.
That's a tremendous takeaway, Rina. I'm like going to change my life based on just that, to be honest. But anyway, let's talk about I4.0, because I think this is an interesting technology point, and it's been often talked about, but it's not always, we don't have a lot of people who've always implemented. So let's just get in it. Talk about your experience. Okay. Where did you start? What did you see? Where did you end up?
Wow. So it's just like any other revolution, right? So I'm sure that when we had the revolution 1 and 2, not everyone got into it pretty quickly, right? Versus Stanley, Black & Decker was pretty out there, up front, helping Hartford and help city of Hartford and so on. I think there is a place for Industry 4.0. I'm not going to say that robots can do everything, so please don't misunderstand. But I really see that this could be really game-changing when it comes to taking care of the safety of our employees without replacing employees, but taking care of safety of the employees, quality products, as in making it consistent, repeatable. There are aspects that creates the visibility through data that otherwise doesn't have. So what doesn't get measured doesn't get improved, right? So without data, we think that we're doing terrific, but
hard to apply the scientific method without feedback.
Right.
Yeah,
that's right. And we might be doing terrific. It's just that there is no way to decipher that. So absolutely. So I am a true believer of integration of Industry 4.0 into any manufacturing environment, if you will. It's just how to get there, right? Because just because you had a technology from 1970s or 1960s in some of the manufacturing, like I can tell you, process manufacturing, chemical manufacturing, some of the things that I've seen throughout the industry could be there since 1960s, 1970s. However, at some point you need to upgrade some infrastructure, but in other cases it might still be fine. In which case you need to be able to integrate some of the new technologies into it to be able to take full advantage of it.
So when you're running the Danbury facility, did Stanley Black & Decker kind of pushed and say, look at how you can use Industry 4 here? Did you see it? Like, I don't know, what did you look at it and go, well, this is how we can apply it here?
So excellent point and question. I am glad that you brought it up. I was very close to when we had started manufacturing, opened up the manufacturing in Hartford. I was very close to that opening and was very interested. I saw the ability for us, our manufacturing plant, to become more productive, to become more repeatable, to become more, so all the things that I just stated before. And so I wanted to leverage that for the better of it. The idea is that, hey, if I leverage it, we're more competitive, we create that competitive edge, we can get more business and so on and so forth. It's a circle. So that's how I really got involved. And, Sudhi Bangalore, I actually met with him several times, and we started working on, in my thought process, I'm pretty big on lean and Six Sigma black belt.
I noticed, yeah.
So, but I'm not I'm not the title one. I believe in the principles, and I actually utilize it on a day-to-day basis. I may not remember all of them, but that's okay. I know where to look it up. That's what they taught me.
That's right.
So overall, from a lean standpoint, it made perfect sense for us to do value stream mapping.
Yeah.
And so that is what we started looking into.
That's where your Industry 4.0 journey started, was with the value stream map?
Value stream mapping event I had for Danbury site, and started integrating some of those aspects of Industry 4.0
Like IoT, data collection, what were some of the tools?
Data collection, data analysis, absolutely. Alarms. So if there's something wrong, from a safety standpoint, it would shut down in certain, it had much more, even though there were safety devices, but these are alarms from a perspective that you can actually collect the data on. So you understand before it fails, before, what is required to ensure the maintenance of it. So there are other aspects that otherwise may not get captured to the level that you would like.
What was it? I mean, did you guys do an ROI analysis on the changes that you made?
Of course. I had to justify every single thing. However, I must give them a lot of credit. They all the capex or any money that I went in with a good ROI was justified. But I can also tell you though that I had a commercial team member, sales and operations team member, all of them, aligned before I went to the business asking for money.
So you aligned all the different aspects to try and really see
to make
full, yeah, go ahead.
To make sure, all business leaders were aligned, because if I missed one or the other aspects, then to your point earlier, how do I know the customer wants it or not, right? So I have to understand the voice of the customer and what it can bring to the table for them. So I had done some of that work working with our leaders in justifying those. So
when you're looking at I4.0 ROI on a project, are these generally like shorter term ROIs measured in 6, 12, 18 months? Are these longer 3, 4, 5 year ROIs? Like what were you seeing? You don't have to give me any secrets at Stanley, but just in general.
Yeah. So I was a little hesitant initially because I haven't cleared with them, to be honest with you. So I will say is that the projects that I had on the deck were all different types. They were gamut of ones. Some were based on strategy. So, for example, we were looking for another application, and in which case it's a voice of the customer, and strategic one, we were going after a different ROI or partnering with those customers, if you will. On the other hand, there were other ones that are operational, just the organic growth. Hey, we can become more productive, we can become more safer, operation, whatever number of things, those were more of reduced. And of course, when it came to safety, I mean, it was a completely different ballgame.
Right, everyone, yeah. So when you're looking at, I4.0, was there a lot of conversation surrounding the infrastructure that's required to run it? Because, you need to have, the correct IT infrastructure and all that. So you guys work to make sure you have all that in place to be able to support it as well?
Well, I think what we lucked out was with manufacturing had quite a bit of talent there. And I think what that allowed us to do was take from their learnings already, and kind of already set the stage for us from that perspective.
Yeah, having
so
a little lab over there.
Integrate. Well, yeah, and some of the team members, amazing team, by the way. They would come to our plant, they would take a look at it, see what they required, come back with solutions and so on and so forth.
It's nice.
Yeah, I know.
It's
that
nice
was
to
really
have that
good.
in your back pocket.
That was really
when you're
good.
trying to go
Absolutely.
live. Let's kind of switch gears a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about kind of a broader, the manufacturing community and infrastructure. And in that point, I know you've been involved with Cbia for a long time, the Connecticut Business and Industry Association. So let's just start by asking the question, why did you get involved in Cbia? Okay.
Well, in 2015, I happened to attend Manufacturing Day at the capital, state capital. And I happened to meet Joe Brannon. At that time, I did not know Joe Brannon. Okay. So it was a big deal. We shook our hands and we started talking about things. And I actually went there as a plant manager from Dyno Nobel. I was looking for some help and support from state. In any case, one thing led to the other. He started telling me about Cbia and for the things that I was looking for help with, hey, you could have a voice and you could influence through Cbia. And I can tell you that Joe Brannon definitely sold me on that concept at that time. And then we had a couple of other meetings thereafter. As I mentioned to you earlier, my father was always big in the community service. It didn't matter how or what kind. It's just whatever expertise you bring, you support in different way. For example, the way you're doing it, which is amazing, and setting the tone for positive Connecticut, made in America. So similarly, I joined the board in 2015. That happened to be the 200th anniversary. Let alone you find out a lot more as you go through. And credit goes to really Joe Brannon. He was tremendous, and I know Chris has big shoes to fill, but I have all the confidence in Chris's ability to do that.
Well, you must have known Chris, right? Because you guys were probably on the board together for a long time.
Of course.
So
proud of him.
Me too. When you think about that engagement, it's so funny. We have a lot of similarities in our family background, right? I grew up where being a part of, rolling up your sleeves and adding your voice and contributing you can, right? So to give back to the community that helped raise us in the first place. So I would imagine that you would encourage other people to get involved.
Absolutely. I believe that Cbia brings a lot to the table. I've learned that when it comes to advocacy at the state capitol, we basically are the voice. We have influence on promoting globally competitive agenda from that perspective. When it comes to public policies, we have a voice in that. The more companies, well, that's one. Two, Cbia also offers range of products and services. So you start from anywhere from insurance benefits to the employees, HR related things. The very popular one, and I have used it several times myself through different companies, is the energy purchase program. So in this deregulated state, it's, make sure that you're getting competitive rate. And Cbia does an excellent job at that as well. And I tell you that all that only increased that game for us with the additional game changer there was Constep. Yeah. So the collaboration with Constep has been extremely successful one.
It's a great, Cbia has been a long history of being so helpful for manufacturers.
Absolutely. And not just for the manufacturers, but from a lean standpoint, Constep is all about manufacturing. But when we think about Cbia membership, I would say about 50% of, a little over 50% of our membership comes from employees, businesses that has employees from 1 to 10 employees. About 40 or more percent, another one from like 10 to 50 or something. So when you think about small businesses, we are there for small businesses. They are able to pick up the phone and say, hey, I need some HR support, legal support, whatever that may be. And as you recognize, during the COVID time, we did a tremendous job. That kudos to Joe from that standpoint of getting the meetings and getting the word out there and supporting a lot of businesses as to what COVID was about and getting UTC. I think it was UTC person to speak to that. And the third, I would say, is that the more members we have, the bigger the clout we have. It's as simple as that. So anyone wants to look up ROI, I'm a business person, you're a business person, Ari, please go to cbia.com, take a look on who we are. And there is actually, based on the services that each business requires, you can actually take a look at the ROI.
Listen, I've said it, if I've said it once, I've said it a million times. I firmly believe there's only two positions in life. Whenever there's something, you're either part of the solution or part of the problem. And not engaging isn't not doing anything. Yeah. It's picking a side one way or the other. And I think, much like I've talked about before, that every company has a culture. Either we build the culture we want or we get the culture we didn't want. That's right. I think when it comes to the economic climate and the view from the state capitol in Connecticut, we either are out there having our voice be heard to advocate for what's right for business, or someone else is going to tell the story for us. That's and it may not be the story that we like. So the least somebody can do is join CBIA to get your voice heard through there and join together with other businesses, and also join your local manufacturing, group, whether it's for your industry or for your region of the state, looking at local chambers of commerce. But these are not big dollar investments.
No.
And the ROI from impact is huge. And I think we all need to kind of get on this bandwagon and work together.
Remember networking. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, please.
Networking is huge because, you might be challenged with some specific issue in your own organization, but you might be, but others have already had some solutions. You have that platform to be able to network and be able to, help each other get to those solutions, if you will.
Absolutely.
So I think that is huge.
Learning and growing. I mean,
learning and growing.
Yeah, Avon isn't competing with Wallingford. Connecticut's competing with the Globe. We got to work together if we're going to succeed together. Absolutely. Listen, before we turn to rapid fire round of questions, which we are about to get to,
wow.
We have Manufacturing Day, coming up, and I've been really thinking a lot about not just getting the word out for manufacturing, but also really celebrating the diversity of manufacturing. I think we're working on it. And the reality is it isn't the old white man's club that I think some people think it is. And I'm just interested in your journey, what you have found, as an immigrant, as a woman, English as a second language. What have you seen in terms of acceptance and your ability to succeed in manufacturing?
Wow. So, excellent question, Ari. I think it depends on your viewpoint, right? It all starts with your own attitude first. I may be viewed initially in a different way, but as soon as they get to know me, I'm completely on a different page, if you will. Initially, when I got into process engineering and all that, I used to feel and see that I was the only minority girl around. Okay. However, after a while, I stopped asking the question, and I assumed that I'm going to go in a meeting where there's going to be all, and I didn't want to ask that question until recently with all this different, awareness that's coming out, where it does beg the question on the diversity. And I don't mean diversity in just the racial diversity. I mean diversity of functions, diversity of age group or any type of different
gender,
thoughts,
background, experience.
Absolutely. Experiences is huge. Look at you and I. I mean, who would have thought that we would have had similar experiences?
That's right.
Right. But yet there is so much in common. Yet there are so many differences in, if I were to look at so many other people.
I look at your story, and I mean, it's an impressive story. No matter what, I mean, just looking.
You're very kind.
Well, you've done all the work. I just get to observe it. It's really, I mean, you've been, by anyone's measure, a tremendous success. I talked about your educational success, your career success and experience. I mean, your passion comes through. I think I'm really privileged to have you on here because I think one of the ways we can encourage diversity is by sharing our diverse experiences. And we've talked about that a lot, not just in terms of just different backgrounds, but even when you talked about the ROI at Stanley and you said, hey, I brought in marketing and operations and, EH&S, that's diversity of thought, and talking about how that helps to build an ROI. I think when we step back and think about it, diversity in all of its forms is a strength. And I think having people like you on here to showcase the success and the diversity and why it's so important is tremendous. And I thank you for helping me tell that story.
Well, thank you very much, Ari, for inviting me. And
we're not done yet. Rapid fire round of questions. Hold on, we're not done yet. I'm going to thank you twice, but I just wanted to get that in. All right, are you ready for rapid fire round of questions?
Okay,
right,
I was not prepared, but...
Red Sox or Yankees?
Oh my gosh.
Don't say cricket. Don't say cricket. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm a Yankees fan.
Oh, all right. Fair enough. Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts?
Oh, gosh. I like Dunkin' Donuts coffee, but I like Starbucks model. Business model.
Like business model.
Yes.
When you travel or take time off, I should say, when you take time off outside of COVID, when you take time off, are you a staycation type of person or exotic destination?
I like exotic destinations.
iPhone?
And always on the go. I'm not...
No grass growing under your feet.
No.
Sports car or SUV?
Sports car, but I don't have one.
It's never too late. If you had to do something other than what you're doing today, and it could be anything in the whole world, what would you do?
Oh my gosh. There are so many people who don't have opportunities, especially in India. When I go to India, sometimes I have tears in my eyes because I feel that people don't have food. And no disrespect to any Indians, please don't get me wrong. But yeah, if there is any possible way for me to support, the poverty and or seeing Indian women rise, I think there is huge talent out there that we haven't tapped into.
You would work on that. That's very impressive. Do you have a favorite business book?
The Power of Habit, Paul O'Neill.
Power of Habit.
Yes. And
Paul O'Neill?
Yeah, that is
not the Yankee guy.
Nah.
The Yankees baseball player? No. Okay, good.
No. Yeah, it has to do with safety and how he started his journey with Alcoa. And literally, there's a story behind the shareholders laughed at him when he became the CEO, and he said that is the platform he was going to choose. And Alcoa stock dove, literally. But he stood firm because he believed in the safety of employees, and he made that first paradigm. And I go by that model.
Well said. What's one thing, Rina, that you learned early in your life or earlier in your career that you think's helped propel you to all the success that you've had?
Courage.
What's one thing that you learned later in your career or later in your life that if you could go back and tell young Rina and she would listen to you, would really set her on a path for success?
Probably so many things I can think.
You got to pick one.
Patience.
Patience.
Yeah.
I love it. Rina, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with me and the Made in America audience.
Well, thank you very much, Ari, for inviting me. This was a pleasure. I am truly honored and humbled by this experience and for your choice. I know that you've had CEOs and entrepreneurs, and I must tell you that I was a little nervous, but you took a chance on me, and thank you for your confidence.
You did great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Made in America with Ari Santiago is brought to you by IT Direct.
As always, thank you so much for tuning in and spending some time with me today. My goal is to help build a community where we can learn and grow together. Your input, feedback, and engagement is critical to making that happen. Please do comment, like, and subscribe so more and more people can hear what we're doing and join our community of growth and success. Thanks so much for tuning in. Talk to you again soon.